board here on GCTV as always. I will leave Frederick last. Let's be gentlemen, shall we? No, you're coming. We must interview and welcome our team, by the way. Today we're very excited to have Zoe Osterhoff on my left. Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
I see that you brought your dog with us as well, and I know that at some stage
Where is the
throughout
dog,
the
by the way?
afternoon, I know, at some stage throughout the afternoon, what is your dog's name again?
Elsa.
At
Elsa.
some stage, Elsa is going to come into the shot, and I have no doubt that if that is the case, and she comes to Mom must just take her, bring her in. We're all about family here, so don't worry about shying away. I know in the era of Zooms, we try and make things look all... This is very real. This is the deal. If Elsa jumps into the shot, she is totally allowed.
Can you imagine how my niece will feel when I tell her that I've been in the same room as Elsa, but as in frozen?
Just
Elsa.
tell her that it's exactly. You
Elsa.
don't have to correct her at all. You
It's
just
Elsa.
you
I was
keep
with
that.
Elsa.
You keep that 100%. On our very far right, Rodrigo Almeida. Bem-vindo, amigo. Nice to have you here.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
No, we are not going into the Portuguese
I just said
language.
bem-vindo, amigo. That's it. There was nothing else there. That was all. Just welcome. It's lovely to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. No dogs with you today?
No dogs.
I
no
thought
dogs.
this was the thing. We were going to have a dog session today. No? Okay, right. Well, what did you think of today's action? Thus, very quickly, do you have a good time? You enjoy what you saw today?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really nice sport, and yeah, for sure, being here, I want to thank you because it's a super opportunity, and we can discuss all kind of details, and yeah, we can also learn a lot from it.
We are looking forward to learning from you. The man, of course, on my right-hand side, you know all too well, not just from the commentary box, but from the in-field discussions as well, from part of every single global tour. Frederick de Backer, this is brand new for both of us. I hope we don't mess it up. This is exciting, it's different, it's fresh, it's new. This is where Global Champions is going now.
Yeah, we're going to be Spotifyable.
Nice. We're going to be Spotifyable. I like that you made that into a verb. So we will be Spotifyable today. Let me ask you then, your thoughts on today, very briefly. I mean, we saw a very large field. In fact, you told me from an event like this, actually not that large a field. I think I'm used to comparing it to global events, but what I felt was a really large field, an outstanding performance from a very large group of people, huge clears rate. Your thoughts on today, very quickly?
And there are a lot of talking points. There's a lot to talk about. There are little surprises, but nothing dramatic happened. And still, I don't want to spoil it yet. There's so much to talk about. There's so much that happened, and that we need to look into. Yeah, I've been excited, as excited as Zoe's puppy. I've been dancing around all day. I'm very happy that the technicalities hold up. And now there's a lot to talk about because finally I've been watching all through the Olympics. I wake up early in the morning to watch the swimming, the athletics, but it doesn't compare with show jumping.
The timing in
Finally.
Europe is tough, and that makes a good point because now we know that for us it's it's early afternoon or early evening here. I beg your pardon, in Europe, so the timing is difficult. But Zoe, you watched some of the tennis the other day. I didn't know you were a tennis fan. Are you a big tennis fan, or was it just on and you decided to catch some of it?
And there
No.
was a German in it.
Of
Yeah.
That's
course,
also important.
of course. That's why you watched, right?
Yeah, to be honest, that was really the reason why I watched.
So if
I saw that he bet the world number one the days before, and then he made it into the finals. And I just saw that round before, and I was so impressed by it because I think if you go into the half finals and you have to play against the world number one to compare it, for example, with show jumping, I think the chance to make it is quite low because if you are the world number one, you are the best. So
there are a couple of broken rackets as well. Did you see that from Novak?
Yeah,
Smashed some
Djokovic. That's
rackets
yeah,
down.
in the half final, and then so he went there to win the Golden Slam. He wants to win the four Grand Slam tournaments of this year, and win the Olympic gold. That was his ambition, and that would be the Golden Slam. It's only one every 4 years that you can achieve it. Obviously, with the Olympics, doesn't make it through to the final. Goes on to compete in the mixed doubles, and also gets kicked out of the mixed doubles. So there's no medal for Novak Djokovic. That's how hard the sport is.
Portugal have 2 medals now, Rodrigo? 2, I think.
One medal.
Just one?
Yeah, we
Okay.
got yesterday in the triple salto. we got
Triple
silver.
jump, yeah.
Yeah, triple jump.
Yeah. Good for Portugal.
A little
Nice.
bit mix of English and
No,
Portuguese.
that's all good. It's all good.
Salto.
It's for anyone who's not Portuguese.
Obrigado, yeah,
Triple
that's,
jump.
all I
Okay.
know.
So that's one medal for Portugal.
And a second one coming.
I was going to say, there's some Portuguese riders.
Exactly.
Is number 2 coming for Portugal from show jumping?
Yeah, I think Luciana has a really big chance. The horse is in super shape. She had a fantastic round. So I'm crossing my fingers for it.
Shall we go
Yeah,
for it?
she looked. You say it was a good round, but she looked a little bit nervous.
Yeah, of course, Olympics. It's Olympics. We as a riders,
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a different pressure. We are used to big shows, and the pressure is on almost every week. But when it comes to Olympic, I think it's a special feeling. So especially in the first day, we don't know how the horse gonna see everything and how we gonna react. So, but I think Luciana did an amazing job, and I think from tomorrow on it will be easier for her and also for the horse.
I also think I can imagine you show jumpers. You've got at least 2, then 3 or 4 horses at the show, class after class, week after week. Those Olympic riders, they have to they travel there very early. Today we are Tuesday. Some of them were already there Saturday a week ago without showing.
Yeah.
It's just that one horse. You can't ride it 7 times a day
No.
because then you'll drain it. So you can only ride it once, maybe twice. And for the rest, there's nothing going on. So there's no rhythm. There's nothing that breaks your
Your full
takes- yeah.
concentration.
It's always that one horse. I think in one way you get really in a close bond and contact with your horse. But like I said, you can't take it out of the stable 10 times a day. And I think that really adds to the pressure. There's nothing else happening.
Is there a possibility that your horse can be undercooked then, Zoe, going into an event like this? If you don't have the opportunity to rest it adequately, yet ride it every single day because of the limitations that he's talking about, Frederick? Can your horse not be ready? Can it be underprepared, you think?
I don't know. I think the temperatures there are really high, so they have to get a little bit used to it, and also how do you say it, with the time that is changed there, because now the class was in the evening, so the Europe time is really different for that horses. So I think it's a huge difference, and you still have to keep training them and keep having them in shape. But as Frederick already said it, I think it puts a lot of pressure if you have one horse there for all the days, and then you have the first round and you really think nothing is allowed to go wrong.
It is now
here.
or never.
Yeah.
Speaking of temperature, we are live from Tops International Arena in Valkenswaard in the Netherlands, where the Netherlands does very well to get above, 23, 24 at the best of times. But we also heard today, and in fact, I'd like us to get that clip from Edwina Tops-Alexander ready. She was talking about the temperature, because I think perhaps we haven't really paid much attention as well to the conditions, Frederick, because we heard from her earlier on today that the temperatures were soaring, especially before the sun went down. And I wonder as well, let's maybe go to Edwina if we can for the temperature, just to get some feedback from her, from Tokyo, as to what the temperature was like at some stage today.
It's really, really hot from around 10:30 till sort of 4 or 5 o'clock. And then it's beautiful. Then it's a little bit of light breeze and perfect weather conditions.
Rodrigo, if it's hitting mid-30s throughout the day, I mean, that must drain you as a rider. It surely should drain the horse as well.
Exactly. I think it's really warm. Not only warm, but we could see also that it was quite windy, and that makes also a lot of difference, especially for sensible horses. That we can see almost every horse has some ears on, and they try to keep the horse focused as much as possible. But for sure, the wind also don't help many of the hot horses.
I do think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, horses handle heat better than humans, no? In general?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
But then does the rider suffer more? If the horse does well, that's fine. But surely the rider then is going to feel quite flat as well.
In fairness, I'm not going to name any names. I did see a few that came into the ring on television that were really, really sweaty. Once they get back from Tokyo, we'll have to have a chat with them about their general condition, because
Their fitness.
however, we shouldn't call that too loud.
I can see you are raring to go, though. Shall we open up today's affairs and say, let's open it up to the room then. What really... Well, let's start here. What stood out for you guys? Because there were a couple surprises. Maybe we can get to surprises a little bit later. Do you feel that the majority of the big names delivered today, Zoe?
I have to say I was really impressed again by the performance from Ben Maher and Martin Fuchs, but that is also a little bit, I think, if you saw the start list, kind of the favorites. For me, it is. But I was also quite impressed by Ashley Bond. I have to say I didn't saw her so often before, but she rode really good, I think, and really, as we said, they get a lot of pressure, but I think you really didn't saw it in her riding, and that's quite a strong performance, in my opinion. I think also the same with Harry Charles. I don't know if he was the youngest or one of the youngest. So
He's
I
22, I think, today.
yeah, he's exactly my age actually, and I just came out of Young Riders, so I can really not imagine to go there now. I would not have the confidence to do it yet, but I think it's quite impressive how easy he's doing that.
You're
so.
already 22. Jeez, Frederick and I are getting old. This is a problem. Frederick and I are getting very old. But let's go to Ben Maher and Explosion.
Or Ashley Bond.
Oh, actually, correct. Yes, we do have some reaction. I beg your pardon. Thank you, Frederick. We have some reaction from Ashley Bond following her very, very impressive qualification. In fact, she was the third best throughout the entire day, clear in a time of 82.84. Let's hear then from Ashley Bond.
So I am a little bit numb, I would say. The emotion was running super high immediately after I crossed the finish timers and knew I was clear. It's obviously been a lifelong dream to get here, and for him to feel as good as he did was just icing on the cake, because I jumped fence 2 and he just was jumping so easy, and then 3, and then when I jumped the triple, it just felt like I was jumping small jumps, to be honest. He just was playing and felt just so focused and ready, and he's so easy to ride that it makes my job really not uncomplicated. So it's just, I kind of am in this like zone, which is nice. I don't really feel at the moment too excited or anything like that. I just feel like, okay, we got the first step down and now we need to go tomorrow, and hopefully that goes well, and then the team. So I feel like it's just, there's a lot more to do, and I'm just praying that I keep him together and keep him going as good as he felt today.
We just need to frame that for a moment. If you think, well, what's wrong with the sound quality? It's just Ashley was so nice to give us our reaction while sitting in the shuttle bus, driving back to the hotel, to the Olympic Village, coming away from the equestrian park. So thank you very much, Ashley.
The fact that reaction is so fresh, I couldn't care if she was in a helicopter sending that to us. Is she the biggest surprise of the day for you guys? Because if you take a look, for example, out of the top clears, I mean, out of the 30 that have qualified, let's take a look at the top 10. Many would say no real surprises. Ben Maher, Derek Kenny, Michael van der Vleuten, Gregory Watley, Scott Brash, Luciana Dinej is there as well. But I wouldn't put Ashley Bond's name in that top 10. And here I am looking at her as the third best time of the day. Is that a huge surprise for everyone?
I think there are a few positive surprises of riders that go through into the final of tomorrow. But I think the way Ashley Bond did it stood out, no?
Yeah.
Such a positive ride.
Solid.
Yeah, solid. We saw a lot of solid rounds. Not every Israeli round was solid. Hers was right up there amongst the very, very best.
Yeah. I have to say that Niels, Bras Niels, Jérôme Guéry, Peter Fredriksson, Henrik van Eckerman, you can really see that a really strong system, and that the horses are not reacting in the nervosism or something. It's one goal, and then you can really see everything smooth and quiet, and I think that's the most important thing to have a good result at the end.
That they were still in their system. Yeah, but Ashley Bond, again, and you're absolutely right, so because we don't see her that much, we focus on global champions. By the way, the both of you are on the Hamburg Giants team. If I were you, I'd give Ashley Bond a call for next year, Global Champions League for 2022, because that's a horse and that's a rider that will suit. Yeah, that suit any team.
She was very impressive. Do you want to go through a couple names there, Frederick, for you that maybe stood out as far as the qualified riders are concerned? Anyone else that is anyone up there at that Ashley Bond-ish level that surprises you in the qualifiers?
That surprises me at her level, no, because
Harry Charles, is he a surprise at his age, at the stage he's at?
I that's something good that you point out. Harry Charles, a young lad, was with us on Global Champions League for a season. Impressed us there as well. It was Miami Celtics, if I recall well. Yeah, Miami Celtics. It was expected that Holly Smith was going to ride as an individual. Only yesterday I read the news that he was going to come on. And then to make such a switch, such a strong mindset, such a positive ride. Okay, he's got his father there who claimed team gold in London with the British team, so he's got a lot of experience around him, but the horse, he hasn't been riding the horse for that long, and then to produce that strong round, that was really, really strong. So yeah, Ashley Bond and Harry Charles are right up there for me from surprises. There's a few others that I wouldn't expect, but Zoe told me that told me wrong there with Kristaps Neretniks, the Latvian rider. I saw him, yes, I saw him in the Middle East this winter, but that was a very solid round. He had a slower horse. We will talk about the turn to 10 later on, but he was very tight on that turn. He rode a very strong round.
The fact that all 3 Japanese riders have qualified, shall we bring that up? For the hosts to do really well. I mean, we're saying now that we'd love Portugal to get a second medal, that Luciano Diniz might be an opportunity, but I would imagine that, for example, if these games were in Portugal and all of the riders qualified.
For once and for all, is it Luciana Diniz, or do I have to adapt to your pronunciation of Diniz?
No, Diniz.
Diniz.
Luciana Diniz.
Diniz.
Yeah.
Diniz.
Put a SH on everything.
Diniz.
That's
Alright.
what you need to do. Put an SH on everything. Tomac, cabeche, banange.
Parabéns.
There you go. You see, you got it. Let's go there. The fact that the host, I would love there to be 50,000 people screaming inside the venue for the host team to be shouting them along the way. We know that it's not the reality in 2021, Tokyo 2020, sadly. Is it cool for the hosts? Like, I imagine if Germany were to do well, and the riders have done very well from Germany, like, to have the host team perform well, does that just give it some extra flavor, do you feel, Zoe?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I also think the Japanese are really a favorite for the team competition, in my opinion, because they were all clear today. If I'm not wrong, Icon had one time fold, I think. But I think the horses were jumping really good, and it seems like they are in really good shape. So for me, they are definitely, they had a really strong performance.
Because you've seen them quite a lot in Germany, no? The Japanese riders, because they all train with Anders Schröders and Paul Schockmüller. And of course, there's Mike Kawai, who's there as alternate rider who trains here in Valkenswaard with Jan Tops. But you've seen a lot of the Kokei Saitos, the Daisuke Fukushimas, and the Eiken Satos.
Yeah, they train at Schockmüller. That's quite close to the place where I was based before in Germany. And they do a lot of shows, and I think they really developed in their riding also. But I think they are all 3 really strong riders, and I think they have quite good nerves. Also, I think they showed it today, that they are really relaxed. They don't get under pressure so quick.
We can discuss medals later, but is this in general Ben Maher's to lose? Because if you watch Ben Maher and Explosion today, they made this look like child's play today, guys. They were very impressive clears today in really fast times. Am I jumping the gun by saying he looked so unfazed? The fact that he was the fastest clear, I'm not too focused on in round 1 just yet, but how unfazed did Ben Maher look today? It looked like it was a warm-up run that he just galloped around an arena. At 81.34 clear to go as the ultimate, the final rider tomorrow in the final.
Yeah, he is 7/10 quicker than Derek Kenny on Cartello. He maneuvered himself in the best possible position. He will be last to go in the final. Do you think that was on his mind at any point? The faster I finish on clear, the later I will go in the final, the better it could be in a jumper for me as well. Do you think that was already on his mind, or is this just, we know that Explosion needs space. Explosion is not the classic horse to ride, and no, classic is the wrong word, to hold him. You know, he's a horse that wants to go, you know. You think it was on his mind, if I finish fast, I start late tomorrow?
Yeah, I think Ben he used that as advantage, because he knows his horse, and he knows also that he needs a good rhythm, and of course, as quicker he finish, as better position he gets. So I think he will use that also for his strategy.
I just wanna come back onto make a link from the Japanese to the nerves, because the Japanese, they didn't show any nerves. For me, they were so cool, they were so composed. Eiken Sato, Koki Saito, and Daisuke Fukushima, so composed, very well balanced. Of course, Paul Schockmüller was there. He had 6 horses in the field that he bred himself. So massive performance from him and from his breeding department. but there was a lot of nerves, no, especially in the beginning of the class. Ibrahim Bisharat, who came in as first, you saw him when he cantered in. The nerves were raging through his body, no?
Yeah, we can see a big difference with the riders. Riders who are more nervous, we can see the horse gets tense and he fights a bit more with the bit, and the distance don't really come so smooth. But when we see riders like, for example, Derek Kenny, he lands and go, and that makes also a big difference in the mind of the horse, because the horse can stay always in the same rhythm and everything comes smooth. And I think it makes it easier to reach a clear round.
Because and the nerves bring me to another surprise. Mathieu Biot, Quel Filou, fantastic grey horse. We'll talk about Van Steen again later on. It has a fault. Horse circles to Van Steen, unexpected, and we've seen him jump not on the tour with that horse, but we've seen him jump in Nations Cups and 5-star classes across the world. You don't see that from him. So I don't know if you remember his round. Do you think that Mathieu Biot with that horse, who was kind of not a favorite, not a hot favorite, but especially one of the outsiders for a medal, was it the nerves that got to him?
I cannot say that really, because I don't know him so good, so I don't know how he is with his nerves or how nervous he is. But I can just say I would be super nervous, 1,000,000%. So I can imagine that you just have so much pressure, and it's such a goal you want to reach, and then you get nominated and you can go there, and especially also when other people say you are maybe someone for the medalist or something, you put so much pressure on yourself that you really want to do it right, and you are ambitious, and maybe there was just a little bit too much the will to do it right, that it just if you think about it too much, sometimes it can go wrong.
How do you deal with pressure, if you don't mind me asking? I would love to know, like, how do you deal with pressure? So if you're on a horse, if you have a really big competition coming up, a big round coming up, I mean, how does it affect you? Do you get severely affected? What do you do to cope with pressure?
I have to say I was really bad with that, but I learned it a little bit. I have, I don't know how you say that, but the person who helps me, not a
mental coach.
Yeah, a mental coach, a sport mental coach. She helps me a lot, and for example, I have a card where my biggest successes are standing on, and I take it sometimes in the gate if I feel really nervous, not every time, but if I need it. And also sometimes if I feel already while the course walk or something, I get a little bit nervous, it's quite a heavy class, I'm maybe not super confident today, then I watch back on some rounds where I did really good, or the horse was really good, or where I had a really good feeling. Can also be a round with one down, but just that gives me, that gives me the confidence also. That's to really do cool.
it. I like that. I really, really like that. Sorry, I wanted to ask her about pressure.
Mathieu Biot, what happened to him was unexpected. Maybe that's one of the negative surprises, you could say. But that brings us to the course design of Santiago Varela. Smart course design, 1, 2, 3, very open. If you're a little bit nervous, it was so easy to override, to get ahead of yourself, to get flat out and to lose control, and then the rollback comes, and then into the triple it comes, and it's 6 or 7, and it's especially in the first part. Those first few riders really struggled to get the right rhythm. Yeah. Because the way you say it, Derek Kenny was he's second fastest, but Derek Kenny didn't flew in that first part. Derek Kenny rode and landed them and picked up.
Yeah, it's really important the track you do in those courses. You have such a big arena, and if you are not smart in your turns, and if you don't cut where you should, I think even going fast, if you open too much your turns with a big speed, at the end you end up with a time fault.
Yeah. Yeah, even though you rode at high kilometers an hour, you just weren't efficient. You rode way too many meters. Yes. Maybe it's a good moment to have a listen to what Peter de Vos had to say.
Yes, Peter de Vos actually spoke about the course as well. Thank you, Frederick. Very good point. Peter de Vos, let's hear what he had to say about the course.
I must say that the course starts very open. So 1, 2, 3 are very long distances. So I think it's important to start with a very good rhythm. Number 3 is an oxer, and then we have a straight line to the triple combination. An option. Normally it's a quite longer 6, I think there will be some riders taking the option for 7 to come in a bit slower on the vertical. We pass the in gates and we move up to the triple bar. Then we have again an option. We can do a 5 or 6 to the vertical with the Liverpool. Then we have a rollback. 7 is a quite delicate plank, the vertical before the water jump. We have to do 7 strikes a little bit steady, so we will have to wait a few strikes and then that we can then attack a bit the water, not go direct in 7 because then you come too close to the water. After the water, again an option. Most likely, most of the riders will do 6, a little bit following 6 after the water to the red oxer. After number 9 oxer, we have to roll back now to the other side, to the left, a quite tall vertical out of the turn, which is, in my opinion, maybe a little bit distracting for some horses because there is a samurai guy standing on the left side. So probably some horses will be a bit distracted, but on the other hand, I think the vertical will jump very well. And then we have again a following 5 to number 11, quite wide oxer to the corner. Then we had already some big efforts, but still there is the last line to come. 11, we have a right bending to quite special wall. Also again, very, very nice jump. Then we have a line which is a little long 4. With a big strike, it's a normal 4. To the combination oxer vertical, quite large to jump in, so it's not an easy combination. And then we go to the final jump, number 14, quite large oxer again.
When he is done with show jumping, we should hire him as an in-studio analyst. That is fantastic from Peter Vos. Fantastic.
Yeah, it'll just be difficult to keep him down on a chair because he's got too much energy. But
Really?
if we
We'll
manage,
tie him down.
yeah, that will manage.
You said the first few riders really struggled. I've tried to work it out now. We had 2 clears inside the first 15. And in a day that produced as many clears as it did, you make a great point. It shows you how a lot of those clears came a lot later, that a lot of those beginning riders really struggled. 2 out of 15, the first out the gate.
It's a little bit. We have to put it in perspective. I think the groups were split, and if you're in a lower ranking group on the FEI ranking, you're earlier to go. So we had the better riders at the end. That was not always the case, of course, with Derek Kenny, for example, starting very early. But in the first we had kind of the weaker riders.
Okay.
And that's also where we had some surprises, positive and negative.
I'm surprised. Can you explain to me why Derek Kenny was quite high up? He was 8th out the gate today, if I'm not mistaken. Is that just a ranking points going into the Olympics?
Is it because the countries get mixed? That could be possible, where your country sits on the overall ranking.
Okay.
I'm just trying to ride my way out of this situation because I see something I don't really know.
Don't put me in it because I also don't know.
Were you too surprised by the high number of clears today? Because we at one stage were considering that the clear rates or the qualification rate was going to have to come down to time because we thought that there might be as many clears at one stage of today. Were you surprised that after a slow start by Frederick's announced countries in the beginning, were you surprised, Zoe, at how many went clear? I think at one stage we had, I think it was 5 out of 8 riders in a block had all gone clear. Was it surprising you today on this track to see how many had gone clear?
I have to say it was not really surprising for me because they are the best riders in the world, so it would be a little bit strange if they would not go clear. I mean, they trained the horses for that, they are ready for it, and of course there were also a lot of riders not doing good because there was maybe a little bit too much nerves or too much pressure on them. But I think the ones that could deal with it were really good today. And also I think it was a really good selection from the, how do you say it, from the really the top of the world, and maybe also the ones that got a little bit nervous or that didn't rode so well, in my opinion, or the horses were a little bit too spooky, or
But that's a tough margin for error. A single fence down today cost you a spot tomorrow.
Yeah,
No.
That
but
is
it's
how high the bar is set here.
Yeah, but massive credits to Santiago Varela. We had him in Madrid. There we had 2 men in the jump off. That was not for Olivier Robert, but for the rest it was quite disappointing to have only 2 clears. But here, if you look at how he made the selection, 30 go through. If you're clear, if you don't have a rail, you go through. That's pretty strong, no? You can't predict it. You can't script this. So he did that really well.
Really, really good.
How tough is that, though? I mean, to say that you may not have a single fence down to qualify. I mean, that must. we spoke about pressure earlier, but surely that must set the bar incredibly high. That here, it was all the clears, time faults. I think there was one. I think there were, how many time faults did we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, and one with 2 time faults. That was Daniel Meach from New Zealand. So he was the last man to qualify. But not a single rail down, Rodrigo. That's got to be tough when you are watching everyone qualify and maybe you're next to come out the gates and you say to yourself that if I don't go clear, I might pack my bags and go home, basically.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? I mean, that's
Yeah,
got to be very tough for you, for your groom, your team. I mean, how on earth
I
do you
think
deal
it's
with
a
that?
really heavy pressure on, and it's difficult, but I think when we can be in Olympic Games, we had this kind of pressure before. Maybe not the pressure from Olympics, but some pressure from a 5-star Grand Prix or a World Cup or something, and that I think it can help you to step out of it.
When are we talking about the rollback to 10 with the sumo wrestler fence? I've been waiting the whole day to bring the sumo wrestler fence up. Can we please talk about the rollback to 10 with the sumo wrestler?
Peter Vos called it, what did Peter Vos call it? The samurai, but it was a sumo wrestler, no? Yeah.
If he wants to call it a samurai, that's fine. That seemed to be a very pivotal fence throughout today. I was the one kind of doing time faults at the time to see if riders were going to make it in or out by then, but I mean that seemed to be a really pivotal fence, wasn't it?
In terms of statistics, it wasn't the most taken down fence. I've got it here somewhere, but it was remarkable to see that at this level you don't see many horses refuse. You had a few duck out. Mathieu Biot was one of them. Teammate Penelope Le Prévost. I think that is the biggest surprise of all. That to see Penelope with Vancouver de Lanlore not compete in the individuals. Okay, there's a few others that we'll name in a minute, but the way it happened to her, the horse ducking out on that fence 10, on that samurai vertical. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think going a little bit before the turn, we have a long line, we have the plank, and then we have open water. So I think many riders need to use a lot of leg to pass the big water. Maybe the horse spooks, so they need a lot of leg to pass through, but maybe the horse has a lot of confidence in the water and they push to don't step on the red line. So I think that kind of pressure on the horse you will pay back later. And later, 6 strides after, you have a big oxer, and then straight away you have a roll back that breaks all the rhythm. And the horses, they don't want to sit on the hind leg, so they're gonna react a lot. And I think that's a combination of also in the end of the course, number 10, horse comes tired, he starts to get long and hanging a bit on the mouth. So we could also see, it was nice to see most of the horses that didn't have the balance high, that they start rolling a little bit, then they were not so focused with the fence, and then they start going left to right.
Because it had nothing to do with being naughty. It had everything to do with not being focused.
Yeah, I think so, because it's a simple fence, 2 poles. Okay, that's a big man. There is a big man next to it.
Yeah.
Needs a little diet.
Half
Maybe
naked.
they are scared.
That was the spookiest fence, though. But if that wasn't the most pivotal, what then what then proved to be the most pivotal fence, Frederick?
Well, the end was difficult. So it was the samurai man, and it was the into the double.
Yeah.
Into that final double, you picked it out as one of those parts that were really, really crucial.
Yeah, for me it was a difficult line because you have a really spooky wall before. So a sensible horse needs there a lot of support, so you can't really take the first distance. When you add one more, you're gonna land a little bit dead, and then the 4 will come long. So you will come with a lot of room in that double and with a very wide oxer. So for sure, when you come with room, you can pass the front rail, but then you pay the back rail of the oxer, or having a big horse giving a big jump in the wall, then you come short coming in, then you can have the front rail. I think it was quite tricky. Also the collars and that red pole in the B of the double make the horse focus just on the B and not in the A. So yeah, it was very smart build.
When they jumped that first, the A element, they were already looking ahead. They're not really focusing on the oxer. They're already looking at that bright red rail in the next part. Yeah.
Exactly.
So what was trickiest part of the course for you think?
Yeah, actually what we already said, the last combination and also that vertical out the corner. I think there were not even so many faults happening on that vertical, but I think already, especially at the beginning, there were a couple of horses spooking there, but not even at the fence. I think there was quite a heavy turn, and then they see a little bit in the last moment. What I also said, it's not didn't look kind of naughty, but more like they came behind the bit, and then
no
it was a
connection.
little bit like
Balance gone.
shocked that it's already there. So but I think the couple of riders that came after that happened to, I think, 2 or 3 riders in the beginning. I think they were a little bit prepared for it, took the turn a little bit more farther and kept the head up, and then it was quite okay.
That's quite correct what you say there, because in the beginning they took the turn quite early. If it would be Formula One, that you talk about the apex, where you make the heart of your turn, they made it quite early. And then as the class progressed, we saw them make it a little bit wider, go wider into the turn, turn later actually, and maybe also keep their horses a little bit more in front of their leg, and a little bit more connection.
Yes, and especially you can opening a bit more your turn if you don't have a real first distance that you can always choose for your second distance, and maybe that was the right option.
Can we talk about shocks today? Because if you page in further down the results, Edwina Tops-Alexander, Christian Kukuk, Ken Farrington as well. Can we talk about big shocks of the day?
The shock is that they don't qualify.
Yes.
Sorry,
let me make that clear. Let me make that clear.
The shock is that they don't qualify. The result is, it happens. I had Harry Smolders on the phone just before the class started, just to understand. We have the course plan. We heard the strides and the lines from Peter de Vos. Harry Smolders said this is already day one proper Grand Prix level, like proper 5-star Grand Prix level. I don't think that we have to say that the time allowed put a lot of pressure on them. We had time faults, but
it was generous, wasn't it?
It was not impossible. But the height was a lot. Where was I going with this story? That's where was it going?
Harry Smolders, maybe?
Harry Smolders. Where were we before?
We're talking about surprises.
Surprises,
yeah. Qualified.
So if this is Grand Prix level, then it is not uncommon that these horses have a rail. However, if we pick out America, that's for me the biggest surprise. No Americans in the individual final. No Jessica Springsteen, no Jessica Curtin, no Ken Farrington.
Laura Kraut as well.
Yeah. What did I say? Jessica Curtin, she's not really in the Olympics. She's in the Olympics. She's there, but she's not competing.
If she
she's there, but she's not competing. She is in the Olympics. Sorry, Laura Kraut. So that's
so
for me
Team
the
USA.
biggest.
Is that one of yours? Your big shock today?
If you make a list of 10 riders that go into the final, there's at least one American rider in there, no?
Yeah, that's true. Especially with Laura Kraut or Ken Farrington, with that experience, I would have really expect them to be in the finals. But okay, you have to go clear, and I think one rail, and that kind of high goes quite quick.
Yeah.
That's not really something you have to have a bad round for. You can also say one down, but jumped amazing. But I also think, for example, Marlon Sanotelli, I would have really saw him in the finals.
That is a big one too.
Yeah. For me, he would have really been one of the favorites for the medals, and I also can imagine he's really disappointed.
Yeah.
Because
we asked him for a reaction. He was not in for it, and we respect that, because he's that was for me the moment of round one. Not the fault of Marlon, but the reaction of his father sitting there in the grandstands. His father,
head in his hands.
His father is an equestrian, a horseman, like you don't find many people who know that. He's a course designer. He's a trainer. He was well respected in Brazil. Followed his sons to Europe to chase their dream. Then the dream became the Olympics. Then they made it to the Olympics. The horse, VDL Edgar M, at a certain point was for sale. Then they found him a sponsor to keep the horse. Then the horse wins his first 5-star Grand Prix. Everything is culminating. And okay, there's still teams coming up. But when I saw the father, Mario, sitting there with his wife, Maricela, alongside of him, the father with his head in his hands, that's the complete opposite of Ashley Bond and Donatella singing as they ride out of the arena. That's everybody who has been at Centaur Park knows the Zanotelli family with their restaurant, no?
Exactly.
So everybody knows how tight that family is. That was for me the moment. I did not see it coming, the fault, and it was the moment of the first round for me. So we just have to worry. We have to make sure that we call Angelica Augustsson to make sure that she's still coming to our podcast.
Luckily, it's
in a
not
few days.
tomorrow, right?
No.
We've given her some time, Shaman. She will be joining us, by the way. There is some wonderful graphics available for you on our social media feeds to give you a reminder as to who you can look forward to hearing and seeing throughout the rest of the week. But let's keep the surprise conversation going. Rodrigo, surprises for you today? We mentioned Marlon Zanatelli, some of the Americans. Who then shocked you the most that they will not be playing part tomorrow?
Yeah, for me, it was not a shock, but I was expecting also Kent Farrington going into the finals. But and if we can see Kent Farrington, Jessica Springsteen, and Laura, they both were clear till fence number 10. So once again, that last line, that double, was difficult because they had all three riders a mistake in the double. Laura had the last fence down, okay, but otherwise all three the same fence down.
We saw the entire first round here altogether. Kent Farrington was the only one to ride an extra stride from the open river to the Oxer.
Exactly.
He rode to the wall and you shouted, he's going to do 5, he has to do 5. Not that you ride better than Kent Farrington. Well, you do, but at least at the same level.
Yeah. In my dreams.
And then with Gazelle, the 4 were really open.
Yeah, they got a bit, especially after the big water, adding one more. Normally it's 6 or 7. He had 8. So after 8 strides, bringing the mare completely together, and then having a roll back and having that line in 4, long 4, I think that's a huge difference for a horse to come back a lot and then to stretch out. I think that was the reason that he paid the fault.
Nobody has mentioned Steve Gerda so far. London
back
champion
bar of the triple bar.
Venade Cerisi. Not the only one, by the way, Germany, to have the back rail of the triple bar.
Also one more complete that I didn't expect the fault.
Steve Gerda will not feature in the individual final. That's remarkable.
Well, it just shows you again. We spoke about this earlier, and for me, as soon as you mentioned Marlon Zanatelli, because also we were watching him a lot here at Tops International Arena over the summer. There was a couple of weeks ago at the second summer event, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won 4 classes throughout the weekend, or 3 classes. And by no means am I comparing that to the Olympics, but I just mean we've been watching him build up to this point so well that when I hear that name not qualifying and not making it through, all because of, again, technically it's a single rail down. That is what's kept him out of that big final tomorrow. It's a single fence down from a man who has had this dream for many, many years, as have so many Olympians, let's be fair. But he has been working so hard, so close now towards this goal to have a single rail down. Marlon Zanatelli, that is really heartbreaking for me.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a big disappointment, but he's not finished. Okay, individual title is finished, but he still has a really strong team behind, and they still have the team competition to do. So maybe the individual medal is away, but I think as a team he has a huge chance to get.
As are the Swiss, by the way. But just before we go to the Swiss, Zanatelli spoke a lot about the line of the Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix in Madrid, the final line, the triple bar into the triple combination, and then the Oxer that was miles away. And I know that he the moment he got home, he trained on that combination because he knew it was coming. Santiago Varela, he built it in the Global Champions Tour of Madrid, and it was also built, I think, in the Nations Cup in Poznan, of the Grand Prix in Poznan. We'll go on to that tomorrow. So he was so focused and so prepared for that triple combination to come, and now he gets a different triple combination and gets a different kind of fault. Yeah,
true.
Swiss. We're not going to go too long onto the teams, if you allow us. But is this now the advantage that, for example, those nations that, for example, United States, they have an extra day's rest.
I was going to say, are you trying to get your way to the point to say that and this is a valid point, I'm not saying you're wrong. Are you trying to say that the disappointment in the individuals will buy them more time to succeed as a team? Is that a real factor, you feel?
100%.
Especially in that heat, especially with a cold horse.
But psychologically, you spoke about having a mental coach, Zoe, and which, by the way, I think is fantastic in modern day sport to have someone that. No, I really mean that. I think to have that kind of aspect, that kind of assistance, and that's kind of an individual in your team, I think is incredibly smart from you and for anyone else that feels that is an important member to have in the team. If you feel the need to, you spoke about mental coaches. Frederick suggesting it's an extra day's rest, which could benefit a team. But what about the psychological side of it? If and we use Marlon Zanatelli now as an example, and I don't want to speak for him or think what he's going through, but I imagine he's pretty heartbroken now. I don't know if he's going to wake up on team day and hop on the horse and bounce back. That must be really tough. That must be tough.
Oh,
I think he is exactly the one who's going to do that. Like, I think if he didn't make it in the individual final, I think he's going to be really disappointed today. And today, I don't really think you will really have to talk to him. But I think now he's going to even get more ambitious for the team rounds.
He's going to
he
call
will
Angelica.
bring something home.
Yeah, he's going to call Angelica. She'll have to cheer him up. And tomorrow, Zanatelli is a brand new man. And Zanatelli, I think the same about Steve Gerdano.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's good to hear. You want to have the riders bounce back emotionally, physically, and psychologically as quick as possible. I think what I was alluding to was just wondering if you have a really bad day at the office, sometimes going back to work tomorrow can be quite tough.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They didn't have a bad day.
Yeah, that's what I also was about to say.
He doesn't have the result. He doesn't qualify for the next round, but he didn't have a bad day. I mean, Edgar jumped a really good round. Okay, there's a lot of horses that were a little bit tense over the first 4 jumps. Unfortunately, for Edgar and for Zanatelli, and there was a triple combination in there. But also, if you talk about Gazelle and Kent, if you talk about Don Juan and Jessica Springsteen, they didn't have bad rounds. And that's the thing that struck me the most. And again, credit to Santiago Varela. Okay, there's a few riders on the FEI ranking that are not as high as most of them. But we didn't see many bad rounds. And especially of those, let's say, 73 that participated, half were very, very good rounds, no?
Yeah.
I mean, proper, clear round potential rounds. Obviously, because 25 jumped clear, but...
Let's then, as we approach time as well, I'm going to act like the headmaster and just keep us in check here, because I don't want us to lose time to look ahead to tomorrow, because that will be very crucial, because we are excited to see what will come out tomorrow. We all seem to have the list in front of us, the top 30 riders that have all qualified for tomorrow's affairs. Zoe, I'll start with you again. Your thoughts for tomorrow? I mean, we have an incredible list of talent here. It's very difficult to maybe pick out favorites, but who, based on what you saw today, are you really looking forward to seeing come out tomorrow? Who then do you think could be a real proper threat for the podium?
Well, I think, the easiest tip has always been Maher, as he's now also in the lead, and I think he's a really, really strong rider, and he has experience on that level and also in championships and everything. I think then you have it a little bit easier, my opinion. Yeah, and of course Martin Fuchs, Dara Kenny, those kind of riders are super strong. I have to say, I was also really impressed by the Japanese. I can imagine the horses were jumping really good, so I can imagine they can go clear again tomorrow. For example, Koki or Aiken, or also Daisuke, he rode really good. So actually there are a lot that could make it, I think.
Well,
There's also
that's what I'm actually trying to tickle over here, is that you haven't mentioned Daniel Doyse, we haven't mentioned Niels Breinseels, we know how strong Deluxe is. I mean, we are trying to fit 10 people. We haven't even mentioned Scott Brash. You're trying to fit 10 people onto a podium tomorrow, and there is such possibility here. I mean, it makes for outstanding watching.
Well, that's what stood out for me the most. You know, yes, I feel sorry for Penelope Le Prévost. Yes, I feel sorry for Steve Gerda. I really wish I would give my little toe for Marlon Zanatelli to qualify for the final. However, if you look at the riders that qualified, there's nobody that doesn't deserve a place in there, I think. You may say, but what about Mouda Zayeda? Mouda Zayeda is a young boy from Egypt who hasn't come to Europe that often, is early to go, has got the nerves, adrenaline raging through his body, and then just comes out with a time fault. I think that's just fantastic. So quickly before I start drifting again, and I know I do, Japan, 3 riders in the final. Egypt, 2 riders in the final.
We haven't even
Fantastic.
said Niall Nasser's
Niall
name
Nasser.
yet. Oh.
So I just and New Zealand. So I don't. I think we don't have the time to go on about the Olympic format. But one thing you can say is that there are some interesting new nations in the final, which is good for the general exposure of
And
the sport.
growth of it as well, yeah.
But you've mentioned a few. You've mentioned a few, Zoe. Those that have qualified come in really strong. I mean, from and especially those that qualified fast. Ben Maher, Derek Kenny, Ashley Bond, Michael van der Vleuten, Mario Delorier, Bertram Allen, Gregory Watley, Lucian Diniz, Scott Brash, Peter, Jerome, Daniel Dawson, Niels Brunsens, Yuri Mansour, Harry Charles, Malin Bayer-Johnson, Nicolas Delmotte, and then Hendrik van Eckermann, Mark Houtzager, Niall Nasser, and just leaving out there Martin Fuchs, Christoph Neretniks. They were all solid performances. Nobody stole their place in the final, did they?
No.
Don't just say no. I mean, if you think I'm wrong, tell me.
No. Also, Cian O'Connor had a fantastic round. He's the slowest clear, or
No.
Yeah.
He's the slowest of the clears.
yeah. But I think the horse is in absolute big shape. He's 9-year-old. Maybe not the last experience in that level, but I think Cian has a lot of experience, and I think the way they are jumping, they can go a big chance in the medals.
And this is Cian's favorite Olympic position to go into. Remember London? Blue Lloyd originally didn't qualify for the final. Then other horses could participate. Cian was reserve, made it into the final, jumped 2 rounds clear, was on the same score as Gerco Schroeder with London, and he had to go in for a jump off. So out of a lost position, Cian O'Connor won bronze, and now he's it's not even a lost position. Now he's sure. Now he's in there.
Do you remember when you were at school? You were in school 5 minutes ago. Do you remember when you were at school?
That's a compliment, by the way. That's a compliment.
It's a huge
Yeah,
compliment, Zoe. You were in school 5 minutes ago. Frederick and I a little bit longer than that. Do you remember when you didn't know the
wasn't
answer?
in school.
Oh dear. Do you remember when you didn't know the answer at school and you try to hide away from the teacher as best you can? I almost feel like Rodrigo's hiding away from the thinking. Like he thinks now that the question has been answered by Zoe alone as to who we can expect tomorrow.
Yeah.
Who do you
Shift
fit
the
on your?
attention.
All of us shift to the right. Who do you fit onto that podium tomorrow? Because we mentioned now. There's the Derek Kennys and the Ben Mayers and maybe the Scott Brashers. Maybe that's an easy podium for some. Some might add Peter Fredriksson, Martin Fuchs, etc. How do you take a list of these 30 riders and tell us who you think is on a podium tomorrow? Because that is maybe not as easy as people think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, my fingers are totally crossed for Portugal, for Luciana, of course, because I would be really proud to have one more medal in my country. But besides Luciana, there are so many good riders, so many strong combinations. But Derek Kenny, really strong. Ben, again, explosion. We can expect, of
There are
course.
so many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to mention one name. When I see the list, he's the best horses in the world, he's the best riders in the world. So I think tomorrow it has to be a combination of rider and horse, and it needs to be the right day, the right time, and we.
So if I'm reading you right, Derek Kenny is on the podium. Ben Maher is on the podium. Regardless of colors of medals they take, let's just make it a third colorless medal. Who then is the third person on that podium for you tomorrow?
I hope Luciana.
Okay.
Good one. By the way, tomorrow starts all on clear, so the time faults are discarded. Everybody starts on a clean sheet. It's basically a Grand Prix with jump off. This feels like the Longines Global Champions 2 Grand Prix pre-2015, where you had a big group of riders in the first round, then a second round with 30, and then with 18, and then the best in those 18 on clear went into a jump off. Feels a little bit like that, but it's important to know and to point out that all the time faults are discarded, so everybody starts on a clean sheet. And as we are talking about a time fault, please. Let's talk about Geir Gullickson.
Yes.
What a hero is Geir Gullickson. So he goes in there with the smallest horse of the group. He is also I'll say the most experienced rider of the group. That means that he's not the youngest. And then he goes in there, has a what looked like a fault on the water. It was not a fault. Credits to the jury at the water to overrule his own decision and make that clear straight away. And then Gullickson comes out with a time fault, sits on the bench, and has to wait for himself to qualify. How old is he now? He's 50 plus 12. Let's put it like that. He's 50 plus 12. Yeah.
Qualifying in 26th place.
Yeah.
One time fault, as Frederick pointed out, 89.41. And in fact, he also got back to us after his round. And we can quickly play you some reaction then from Gullickson following his very dramatic qualification for tomorrow's second round.
This was more than I was hoping on a best day, but the way he jumped today was amazing, and it was so nice, you know. I took it just a bit too big turn to number 10 because my horse never stops, but you know, a lot of horses stopped on that with the man there, you know, but he jumped very well. I'm very, very happy with the horse. And so gone all this way here and done all the work, you know, and he's jumping as best of his life, you know, so it's nice to be in the finals. So tomorrow is just do our best. Worst, we are 30s.
That's positive. At best, we are 30th.
I wonder if he feels his time fault at the time would have cost him a place in the next round.
Yeah,
now,
surely.
in
Think so.
hindsight, realizing.
Because if based on the start list, we had a few surprises, that didn't qualify.
Yeah.
There was, for example, Laura Kraut that we expected to qualify.
Especially at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a few surprises because we thought at a certain point it was going to be on the clearest to qualify.
We have 2-3 minutes left. These two individuals have spoken about podiums.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go? Your woo sounded more exciting than mine.
Yeah, we have prizes to give away.
Oh no, I have prizes here. Yes, no, I want to ask you for your podium. We'll do prizes to close. How do you fit these 30 people into a podium? It seems like Ben Maher, everyone is comfortable enough to be there. How and who do you put on that podium?
All right. So I spoke with the boys of Equi Ratings, and they are everything I'm not. They are magic with numbers, and they.
Is that all you are not? Is that what you do?
And they've made a prediction.
Yes.
Based on stats, based on ELOs, which is a rating system, and their ELO system. Let me just bring it up because they sent it over to me. Their ELO system is super strong. 19 of the 25 of their top ELO ranking go through to the final. Okay. That's already that makes it already
very believable.
Yeah, believable, exactly. If you have to follow their ELO system and their rankings, number 1 gold medal is Ben Maher.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot. I believe I forgot. Who was number 2? Number 2, Nicolas Dermot, Urvoso de Roche.
Oh, yeah.
Grand Prix winner.
That name has not come up, which is what I'm saying to you. How do you fit these people on the podium tomorrow?
Number 3 is Malin Bayard Janssen, H&M India.
Wow, that is a fascinating podium.
Yeah.
That jumped really good today,
Yeah.
the horse.
Does that agree with Frederick de Bakker's podium?
Yeah, once I saw, I didn't, when they showed me, I didn't want to agree. Because, where is Peter Fredriksson? Where is Scott Brash?
Yeah.
Where is Niels Brunswick? Where is Jérôme Berry? Where is
Daniel?
Yeah, where's Daniel? No.
Tomorrow I think we will see him.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's their podium, and I'm sticking with it. I want to follow them. I want to follow them into this journey. If that is right, that is fantastic. So that's 1 Ben Maher, 2 Nicolas Delmotte, and 3 Malin Bayard Janssen. Credits to Equi Ratings.
Okay, well, that is the rating system that is based on a lot of different factors that Frederick is holding on to as his own podium as well. You spoke about prizes very quickly with less than a minute ago. We already have our first winner of the week. What we are doing is asking you to go on and interact with us on social media, and you will then be able to win some signed memorabilia, caps, if I'm not mistaken, from Global Champions as well. Signed as well, and not signed by the 2 people in the middle here, because our signatures not worth anything. It's going to be signed.
And easy to fake.
And easy to fake and easy to just, get rid of. So we'll be giving signed memorabilia away throughout the week from the riders that we bring on to our GC podcast. I believe our first winner, Olivia Arias, has already been crowned and will now receive a signed piece of memorabilia from us. The idea, and I believe that this is 100% correct, you need to share Longines Global Champions Tour's story to your story. You need to be following the Longines Global Champions Tour. And you need to tag someone in the post. By doing those 3 things, all of these details, by the way, on social media. Don't listen now and forget about it. It's all on social media. Go check out Longines Global Champions Tour. And if you follow all those criteria and you are picked, you will be receiving a signed cap from the riders that we have on our Global Champions podcast.
And we already have one winner.
And we already have one. Well done to Olivia Arias, your first winner of the week. And that is already the end of episode 1 of our GC podcast. I know we are technically already out of time, but can we say a very quick thank you? Zoe, did you have fun today?
Yeah, it was better than expected.
That doesn't say a lot for us.
Yeah.
She didn't want to come. She was hating us
It's like,
already.
it's like going to the dentist. It's better than expected. It
was
still hurt, but
it was better or it was easier.
I didn't hate being here with you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
We appreciate
I would
that.
like to go now.
Rodrigo, good day today?
Yeah, it was fantastic being here together with you guys. And yeah, let's see how it comes tomorrow.
Well, enjoy the action tomorrow by yourselves, because you'll be watching it at home in the comfort of your own house. We will then be hounding and giving a very tough time to 2 men that will be joining us tomorrow. Frank Schuttert will be joining us. Do you want to give away number 2? Because he's apparently so excited.
He's super excited. Mikey Pender.
So Michael Pender and Frank Schuttert will be joining us tomorrow, and what a big day for them to join us. We're talking about this lineup. We talk about medals tomorrow. They will be available for you on your GCTV Access Pass. It is free to sign up with, and you can join us tomorrow live for the GC podcast from 4 p.m. Central European Summertime tomorrow. Frank, Mikey, Frederick, and myself will be here. Rodrigo, thank you. Zoe, thank you.
Thank
Frederick.
you.
you're welcome.
Elsa the dog.
And Elsa the dog. I don't know if we can get Elsa the dog to say goodbye.
No.
Can we get her in shot as well? She's been the best support of
Nice.
the entire day.
Stretch first, yeah.
Right, Frederick de Backer, thank you
Thank
for
you,
your
Mark.
time. As always, guys, thank you. It's been wonderful
Thank
to
you.
have you. Please do join us again tomorrow for round 2, essentially, of not just the event, but of course from the GC podcast as well. Go sign up for your GCTV Access Pass. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central European Summertime.
There's Elsa.
Bye.
Bye, Elsa. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.